Okay, I think we are live, so I'll make a start. Okay, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah.
1 second, please.
Sure. Ready from your side, Sheikh? Sorry.
1 second, I need to just record.
Sure, sorry. Gives a chance to people to join as well.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Yes, Sheikh.
Yes.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Dear viewers, we have a very, very special program today. As you know, Shaykh Mohammad al-Malki gives regular durus on ITIBATV on Mondays with the Seerah and on Thursdays with Arba'in Nawawiyah, which is the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. We, Alhamdulillah, have a very, very special program with us, and we've had many, many questions, Alhamdulillah, that we're going to be getting answered. The topic of today is the Hajj Q&A, and I've specified that Hajj Fiqh Q&A because there are a lot of questions about the platform and how to use the platform and with the tickets and how to book the tickets. This is not what we are addressing today. We are simply discussing the fiqh. So if you have any questions, I have in front of me, I have the YouTube channel open. Any questions that I see coming in, inshallah, I'll be able to address these questions and ask them from the Shaykh. So without further ado, I'd like to start off by welcoming the Shaykh. Shaykh, Jazakallahu khairan for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayyakum Allah, Brother Shuaib, and all the brothers and sisters who are watching us now in this live stream, and those who will listen to this later on. May Allah Ta'ala increase us all in Iman, first of all, knowledge, and make us from those who search the truth and act upon it, and may Allah Ta'ala keep us steadfast on it until we stand before Him, gaining His pleasure and having the neighborhood with the Prophet ﷺ in the highest rank of paradise. Ameen.
Ameen. Ameen. Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykh. And I will say to the viewers, my apologies if I sneeze or anything during this, because I have very bad hay fever today. The pollen count seems to be very high. So as you can probably see, my eyes are slightly watery as well. So if I start sneezing or anything, I apologize. But without further ado, I'm going to go to the first question. A brother is asking a question which is related to coronavirus. He says that the authorities no longer require you and make it obligatory upon you to wear a mask. However, he says he feels unsafe because of the virus. He doesn't want to catch it during the days of Hajj because he feels it might weaken his body and prevent him from performing a good Hajj. Would it be permissible in the state of Ihram, for him to wear a mask?
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Amma ba'd. In the normal circumstances, the Muslim, especially the man, and also the woman, are told not to cover their faces. And the woman especially, there is a clear hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said the Muslim woman who is in Ihram, in the state of Ihram, must not wear the niqab nor the gloves. And if it is the case for women, then it is for men more obligatory. And the Prophet ﷺ permitted some people, when there is harm, to do that which is non-permissible. However, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said that we used, when we were in the journey of Hajj, to uncover our faces unless if there are some men passing by, so one of us may throw from her head scarf over her face, which means for the necessity it is permissible. And now this situation that the brother just described, because of the coronavirus and the condition of the authorities of Hajj, that the Hajjaj must wear the mask, especially in the closed areas, and that is for protection of all. And as we know that the Hajjaj, many of them come in very old age, and they may be very weak in terms of immune system, and so they may catch such viruses which may either cause them death or at least disability to continue their Hajj. Therefore, the ulama said it is permissible for this necessity to wear the mask in Ihram, in the state of Ihram, and even in Salah, even in and outside the state of Ihram, because the Hajjaj are not only going to be in the state of Ihram all the time. And those who are performing Hajj Tamatu, once they perform the Umrah, they're going to come out of the state of Ihram. But they will be asked again to wear the mask, which is exceptional. And also during the days of Mina after Arafah, they are going to be in normal states, meaning not in the state of Ihram. But they will be asked to keep on the mask for protection for themselves and for others. So it is, yes, permissible for this necessity, not for no reason, but there is a very valid big reason to wear. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallahu khairan, Sheikh. Thank you for that. And the brother who asked the question, I think you got your answer there, that yes, it's permissible because of this reason. The second question we have here is the person asks, I have heard that it is the sunnah that when we have the bath to do the bath before we put on the ihram, before we don the ihram, it is permissible, rather it is the sunnah to apply perfume to your body. However, I've also heard that it is impermissible to apply perfume while in the state of ihram. Now, if I have ihram, once I get to the miqat and I still have perfume on my body, have I broken the rules of ihram?
La, the perfume is permissible to be put on the body before getting into the state of ihram. So as long as the perfume was worn before he reached the before he if he had put the perfume before getting into the state of ihram, then he does not need to do anything, because that is the normal situation. As Aisha radiallahu anha said, that I used to put the perfume for Rasulullah on his forehead and his body before he gets into the state of ihram and once he comes out of the state of ihram. So as long as the perfume was not worn while in the state of ihram, while being in the state of ihram, then no problem. If it is worn before the state of ihram, no problem. But the ihram clothes must not be perfumed before or while the state of ihram. the body is allowed to be perfumed before getting into the state of Ihram, and he does not need to remove the perfume, because perfume is sunnah to be put before the state of Ihram, so that in the coming few days he's going to sweat, so the perfume will keep the smell yani good. Nah, wallahu a'lam.
Yes, and what a good advice, because obviously if we put on the deodorant and antiperspirant and stuff like this beforehand, it will prevent us from sweating so much and everything. Jazakallahu khairan, Sheikh. That's a very good point, and I think that answers the question nicely. Now, there was a question about shoes. So before I ask the question, I want to give an example, because a lot of the time when we give the example of shoes and we ask the question of what kind of shoes are permissible, then people kind of can't picture what we're talking about. So Sheikh, if you don't mind, I bought some samples of my own shoes, and I will show them to you as part of this this question. So this is like a Crocs flip-flop.
Yeah.
And a lot of people wear this, and by the way, it's very comfortable. So if anybody is wondering, Crocs flip-flop in Ihram is very good. Is this permissible, Sheikh?
Yeah, the slippers.
Slippers, yeah.
Yeah, without mentioning companies. We don't do we don't do advertisement. Yes, slippers. This is the yani the normal slippers that the muhrim should use.
Okay. So this one is permissible. What about this one, Sheikh? So this one has a band.
This one is permissible too.
This is
no
permissible
problem.
too.
This one is permissible. Yes.
So some people had a doubt, and I think this is where the question came from, which is that this goes over the bone of the foot. So is that permissible? This part being covered?
No, there is no any dalil to say. There is no any dalil to say that if it has a kind of what we call this a strip over, that it is not permissible. There is no any dalil to support that claim. There is only one dalil to say that the normal shoes which covers the whole foot, that the ulama have a different opinion in regards, because the Prophet ﷺ, first of all, he banned it and forbid wearing the khuf, which is like the shoes which covers the whole foot. But later on, he said if he doesn't find other than them, then let him cut the heel. But in another later occasion, he permit it to be used even without cutting, without bending the heel of it, or not heel, sorry, the back side of it where the ankles. Those shoes, the first one, the slippers, is permissible definitely, and the one with the strips over is permissible, and normal shoes which covers the whole foot, that is where the ulama differed. I don't know if you have it, so they can see.
So yeah, I've got another example. I know you said not to mention the company, but this is also Crocs.
This one is permissible. This one is permissible.
I see.
Because these are sandals. These are sandals. These are not shoes. In a way. These are
because the back is off it.
No, this is sandal. This is not a shoes.
So this has the front of this is completely covered.
I know, but it's sandal. It is not shoes. It is a sandal, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the first one was slipper, and the latest two were sandals, not shoes. The shoes is the one which is covering the whole foot.
Yeah, so just to summarize, the Sheikh said that this is definitely permissible. This is the usual one that everybody uses, like a slippers.
Yeah.
And then these two, which has a strip going over the top, or it's got some bit covering the front.
These are permissible too.
Jazakallah khairan. Excellent.
Why? The first one is called in English slippers, and the latest two are called sandals. Okay, now we have the other one, which is, I don't know if you have it, the shoes that covers the whole foot. Do you have it?
I do not have I don't have a proper shoe, but you mean like a proper shoes here?
Let me bring it.
Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh. So alhamdulillah, we're getting a very practical demonstration here. While the Sheikh's gone to get that out.
Sorry to show, but this one, I like this one, which they call or normal shoes.
Jazakallah khairan. So this is an example of what is not permissible.
Yeah, these normally not permissible, but if the person needs to wear them, become have problem with foot, they need to wear certain type of shoes or trainers so they can walk bit long distances. Or these people, as we said in the beginning, the Prophet ﷺ said permissible, but to be bent from backside. First order was to cut the backside. Later, another permission from Prophet ﷺ to bend it. But the ulama say that the latest ruling made by the Prophet ﷺ in regard to such shoes is that it is permissible, but not preferable, not advisable to wear like these shoes if you can wear slippers. Na'am, wallah.
Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh. And we have somebody in the comment section saying salam to you, Shaykh. I'm just going to go to the rest of the questions.
Alaykum alayhi salam.
Someone is asking a question: how do I make an intention to perform Hajj on behalf of a deceased loved one, Hajj Badal? And as part of that, I would like to also add to that, if you could mention also about the ruling with regards to who Hajj Badal can be made for and who it cannot be made for.
First of all, Hajj Badal is permissible, as in the hadith of Shubruma, when the Prophet ﷺ heard the man declaring the talbiyah on behalf of someone. He said, Labbaik Allahumma an Shubruma. Oh Allah, Labbaika on behalf of Shubruma. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, who's Shubruma? He said, he is a brother of mine or a cousin of mine. The narrator had the doubt whether he said brother or cousin or relative. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him one question: did you perform Hajj on for yourself, the obligatory Hajj? He said no. He ﷺ said to him, then perform Hajj for yourself, and then perform it on behalf of your relative. So based on that, we say, yes, it is permissible to perform Hajj on behalf of others if you have done it for yourself. Now the question is this general, or it is with condition? The Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the Sunnah of the Khulafa al-Rashidin, and the Sunnah of all the Sahaba is that they did not used to perform optional Hajj on behalf of the deceased, but the obligatory Hajj. If the Muslim dies before performing Hajj, they used to perform Hajj on his behalf. But if he had done Hajj, then it is not advisable that the person goes and perform Hajj on behalf of the deceased, but perform Hajj and Umrah for your own self, even if it is many times that you have performed before, and focus on dua for the deceased in this Hajj, in this journey of Hajj. Many people today, they prefer to go, and they have done Hajj for themselves, maybe some years back. And then every year he goes on behalf of so-and-so, on behalf of so-and-so, on behalf of so-and-so. And these people have already done their own Hajj, their own obligatory Hajj. He says it is optional for them. And that is wrong. That is wrong for two reasons. Not wrong meaning he's sinning, but he is opposing the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, Sunnah of the Sahaba. We all know that Khadija radiallahu anha died as Muslim before Hijrah and never done Hajj in Islam. But the Prophet ﷺ did not make Hajj on her behalf. He did not ask any of the Sahaba. None of the Sahaba had done Hajj on her behalf. Why? Because when she died, Hajj wasn't obligatory, wasn't a pillar of Islam. Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, passed away in the second year of Hijrah in Medina in the Battle of Uhud. He ﷺ did not ask anyone, nor anyone had done Hajj on his behalf. So because he died before Hajj was made obligatory. After Hajj was made obligatory, we have Sahaba like Abu Bakr Siddiq died after the Prophet ﷺ. Aisha never had done Hajj on behalf of her father. Neither any of her brothers. Abdullah bin Abbas didn't do Hajj on behalf of his father. Abdullah bin Umar didn't do on behalf of his father or any other relatives. Why? Because they already had done their own obligatory Hajj. So if the person you are performing Hajj on his behalf, his or hers, if he had done Hajj before, then it is not advisable for you to do Hajj on his behalf, but do it for your own self and focus the dua during the Hajj, because the Hajj is a very big and strong and good season for dua. The Prophet ﷺ used to do dua in Arafah and Jamarat. Every time he stones the Jamra Sughra and Jamra Wusta, he goes to the side and raises his hand and keep on making dua as long as Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. All this time he used to stand and make dua. In the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, he ﷺ used to stand on every mountain, Safa and Marwa. Before he starts the shout or the round, he begins by takbir and the dhikr will known, and then he raises his hand and make long dua, and he repeats that 3 times. So there are times and places for dua, and it is acceptable there. Better to do dua, to do Hajj or even Umrah for your own self as optional, than doing it on behalf of others as optional, unless if it is obligatory on their behalf. And make dua, a lot of dua for them, for the deceased, whether parents or relatives or friends, whatever. Na'am, wallahu.
Jazakallahu khairan, Sheikh. So just to clarify the wording, because obviously for non-native speakers of Arabic, could you just repeat the if they were doing Hajj Badal on behalf of their deceased relative who has not done Hajj before, how would they say it?
نعم لبيك اللهم حجا عن, and you name. It means, oh Allah, here I am responding to your call to perform Hajj on behalf of so and so.
I see. So after the word an, then the person should say the name of the person that they're doing Hajj on behalf of.
Yes.
Jazakallahu khairan, Sheikh. So Going to the next question, it's a question I think is very, very important from a sister. A sister is asking that she is likely to get her period during Hajj. If she got it during the days of the stoning of the Jamarat, so this is the 11th, 12th, 13th of Dhul Hijjah, would this prevent her from performing the rituals of Hajj, the stoning? She means the stoning. And as part of this question, she's asking if she got it early and she got it during and was unable to perform the tawaf, what does she do? Because then for people who live internationally, we leave Makkah and she may not have time to do it. And as part of that, then she's also worried with regards to Tawaf al Widaa, which is when we're leaving Makkah. If she's unable to perform this one, then what would she do? So 3 questions in one there, Shaykh.
In the hadith of Jabir in Sahih Muslim, when he's radiallahu anhu described the Hajj of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the believers with him reached a place called Sarif. Sarif is like parallel to the Jeddah airport today, and very close to Makkah, like 60, 70 kilometers away from Makkah. Aisha had the menses. He sallallahu said to her, do as what all the Hujjaj can do, except tawaf and prayer. You don't do them. Don't do tawaf and prayer, the normal prayer, salah. So that means she can do everything. She can do everything. And that's why Aisha went with the Prophet ﷺ to Arafah while being in menstruation period. And she went to Muzdalifah and she returned to Mina and stoned Jamrat al-Aqaba while in the state of menstruation. Because these ibadah, this worship, do not need purity. Do not need purity. So she can do all this. And when she is free of menses, she goes for tawaf. Now, Aisha radiallahu anha came with the intention of Umrah. She wanted to do Umrah and then do Hajj in the same journey, which is later on known by Tamatu. But she had the menses before reaching Makkah for that. And she said to the Prophet ﷺ, after they finished the journey of Hajj, she already done Tawaf al Ifaada, because in Hajj we have three kind of Tawaf. We have for the Mutamattia, Tawaf of Umrah, which is a pillar, and that is when first arrive, they do Tawaf and Sa'i as pillars, because it's Umrah. We have the second type, Tawaf al Qudum, Tawaf of arrival. That is Sunnah. That is Sunnah. And once the person does Tawaf al Qudum, he is allowed and advised to do Sa'i of Hajj in advance. Is Sa'i of Hajj in advance. Okay? Which is pillar of Hajj. But he or she does it in advance. That is for Qarin and Mufrid. Qarin and Mufrid. So this is the second, or this is the first Tawaf. First Tawaf for Mutamattia is pillar. First Tawaf for Qarin and Mufrid is optional. The second Tawaf is pillar for all. Pillar of Hajj for all. That is Tawaf al Ifaada. Tawaf al Ifaada, which follows the day of Arafah. It has different names. Tawaf al Ifaada, Tawaf al Rukun, Tawaf al Ziyara, Tawaf al Hajj. These are names of that Tawaf, which is after the day of Arafah. And then we have Tawaf the third type of Tawaf, which is Tawaf al Widaa, and that is for all people other than residents of Mecca. Other than residents of Mecca. Residents of Mecca, they don't have Tawaf Qudum, they don't have Tawaf Widaa, because Qudum means arriving from outside Mecca to Mecca, and Widaa meaning departing from Mecca to outside Mecca. So now the middle one cannot be dropped at all. Cannot be dropped at all. Tawaf al Qudum, which is for Mufrid and Qari, which is by the Tawaf of arrivals, which we said Sunnah, one can leave it, no problem. Yani, he can go direct to Mina, no problem. But Tawaf of Ifaada, which is after Arafah, no one can miss under whatsoever circumstances. Tawaf al Widaa, two people are exempted from. It is obligatory, it's not pillar, but obligatory, because the Prophet ﷺ said to the Hujjaj when they finished, he said, do not let anyone leave Mecca unless he had done Tawaf as the last thing he does in Mecca. Now, two people are exempted from this Tawaf. Who they are? People of Mecca, because they are not leaving Mecca. They are living in Mecca. So they don't have Wada. And the second is a woman who got menses after the day of, after Tawaf al Ifaada. She done Tawaf al Ifaada, and after that she got the menses. Like whom? Safiya, the mother of the believers, Safiya bint Huyay, the wife of Rasulullah, when she finished Tawaf al Ifaada on the 10th, she had the menses. And when Rasulullah decided to leave on the 14th of the Hijjah, she said she has menses. The Prophet said, going to hold us here in Mecca? The first Tawaf was enough for her, meaning Tawaf al Ifaada, the one after Arafah, was enough for her. So now we repeat again. We have three Tawaf. One is Sunnah, one is pillar, one is obligatory. The Sunnah can be left, no problem. And that is Tawaf of Qudum or arrival. That is for Mufrid and Qari. One who is doing Hajj Ifrad or Hajj Qiran. Okay. Or she does this Tawaf, then they can add to it the Sa'i of Hajj in advance, which means on the 10th, they will do Tawaf one. Now, the second is pillar, and that is Tawaf al Hajj, Tawaf al Ifaada, Tawaf al Ziyarah, Tawaf al Rukun. That was the day of Arafah. All of them have to bring it, and no one is exempted. The last is wajib, obligatory. That is Tawaf al Widaa for other than people of Mecca and people who cannot perform it for a reason or another, like women who in that day, or someone who is who got sick after the day of Arafah. He did Tawaf al Ifaada, and after that he went very sick, and he cannot go because of his illness. He cannot go to do Tawaf al Widaa. Here he is exempted to leave and go. So these are three Tawafs. And as I said, Tawaf al Umrah for Mutamatti', that is wajib, because that is pillar of Umrah. That is pillar of Umrah. So these are the Tawaf. Now back to the question. A woman had menses before arriving to Mecca. They were said like Aisha. If she is doing Tamattu', it automatically changes to Qiran. If she had the menses after performing the Umrah of Tamattu, then she's still in Tamattu. If she had the menses, after the day of Arafah, meaning after she performed Tawaf al Ifaada, but before Wada, and the Wada day comes, but she is still in menses, then the Tawaf of Ifaada would be sufficient for her. I wish I have made it clear. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykh. One of the confusions I think that is present in this question is if as you mentioned, for people who are leaving after they have completed, so if they are, so you mentioned that there's 3 types of tawaf. For the Tawaf al Ifaada, if they were unable, if they were having their period at this point, if they were in the state of menses at this point, what would they do? How would they have to do this after they are pure again, or how would they basically make that tawaf? Because
the Ifaada?
Yes, the Ifaada, Sheikh, if they have their period during the Ifaada.
Let me clarify it for only women. Women who has menses before arriving Makkah, she will do everything like the Hujjaj except for tawaf and prayer. Okay. Women had menses after she arrived Makkah and performed tawaf and sa'i. Then she has no problem. She does all the other rituals. Women had menses after she performed Tawaf al Ifaada, which is after Arafah. Yani she went to Arafah and returned to Muzdalifah, then to Mina, stone Jamrat al-Aqaba, then she went to Makkah, performed Tawaf and Sa'i of Hajj or Tawaf alone if she is Mufrid or Mutamattu'. Sorry, Mufrid or Qarin, because the Mutamattu' will do Tawaf and Sa'i that day. So after she done Tawaf al Ifaada, she had menses. Okay. Then she had done the pillar of Hajj, no problem on her. The third is a woman who had menses just before leaving for Tawaf al Widaa. This Tawaf will be, yani, the Tawaf after the day of Arafah, which we call it Tawaf al Ifaada, would be enough for her. That Tawaf Wada will be dropped, cancelled, because she's a menses. But if she had the menses before the day of Arafah, or before she performs Tawaf on the 10th of the Hijjah, she had the menses, maybe in the day of Arafah she had the menses, or in the night of Muzdalifah she had the menses, or in the morning of Nahr, the 10th, she had the menses before she goes to Makkah, or before she performs, even if she went to Makkah and then she had the blood, she had the menses, she cannot perform Tawaf. But this Tawaf is pillar of Hajj, cannot be dropped anyhow. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, if the menses remain with her until the time that she has to leave Makkah, if she can stay, she has to stay. But if she can't, because she has a flight, she's coming with family, with company, with whatever, and now she has to leave. She has no residence, she has no accommodation in Makkah, and she has a flight that if she misses, then she cannot get a flight. Then Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said that she just put a kind of preventer, like the nappy or something, to stop belonging to the clothes and perform tawaf. Why? Because this tawaf is pillar of Hajj. But she does not perform the 2 rak'ah after tawaf because no prayer on her. If she lives nearby Mecca and she comes back, or even wherever she lives, and she says, yes, I can come back once I am free of menses, then we say the obligatory upon her is to go and return after she is free of menses, but with one condition, that if she goes back to where she is residing, whether Jeddah, Riyadh, even England, or and she says, I can pay for ticket and return, no problem. We say, okay, the period between your return and until you do this tawaf, there is no sexual intercourse. It's prohibited. So by that, she can. Now,
Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykh. We have a comment, question in the comments, which is, if you leave Makkah for Medina and then return to Medina before your flight, do you have to do Tawaf al Widaa each time you leave Makkah, or only before your flight?
La, if he is leaving Makkah going to Medina, then he has to do Tawaf al Widaa, because the Prophet ﷺ said to the Hujjaj, that is in Hajj only. I'm talking about Hajj. If he finishes Hajj and he wants to go for a couple of days in Medina and then return, he has to do the Tawaf al Widaa. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ on that day, let no one leaves Makkah until he does the farewell Tawaf. And you cannot guarantee you live until you die. You might die when you are in Medina or on the way back to Makkah without doing Tawaf al Widaa. That's wrong. You do Tawaf al Widaa, and because what is Widaa? Widaa is when you leave the place where you are. We said you have Tawaf al Qudum. Let's make an example for it. You are receiving guests, and your guest coming, knock the door. You open the door. What would first thing the guest do? Greeting you, isn't it? The guest, once you open the door, will greet you. Say, Salamu alaikum, how are you? Will hug you, something like that. Okay. Now, you entered the house of your host. You sat down. He fed you everything. And now you wanted to leave. What do? You say goodbye. Salamu alaikum, goodbye. Ma salama. We'll see you inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Okay. You don't just, okay. While you are there, the adhan of any prayer is raised, and you wanted to go and pray and come back. You don't. You say, I will catch prayer and come back. But if you are leaving the house, then you have to say goodbye. Right? So now, this person who's going to go to Medina, the best thing to do is do Tawaf al Widaa and go to Medina. So you have finished Medina. Visiting Medina is not part of Hajj. So you have finished the Hajj. Before leaving Mecca, you do Tawaf al Widaa, because Rasulullah said, do not leave Mecca until you, and you are leaving Mecca now. So do Tawaf al Widaa and go out. If after that you want to return to Mecca with Umrah from Medina, no problem. And after then, you don't need any Tawaf al Widaa, because Tawaf al Widaa is only for Hujjaj. And after you finish the Hajj, even in the official documents, you are called Hajj. but you have finished Hajj. You are not Hajj anymore because Hajj finished. So if you want to return from Medina, before taking the flight from Jeddah, you said, let me go a couple of hours to Mecca and perform Umrah, then you don't need Tawaf al Widaa. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykh. And in the comment section, people are also saying Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykh, and making dua for you. In the comments, if anybody wants to leave a comment, I will read it out, inshallah. Somebody is asking regarding nowadays, it's not smoking per se, it's called vaping. They have like a vape device, and they vape. It's like a smoke that goes inside and it's flavored, and people vape. The person is asking about vaping while they're in the state of Ihram.
This what they call it, I don't know what they call it, cigarette, something like that. This is, according to the medicine doctors, they consider it smoking, and even they said it's worse in the side effect than the cigarette itself. So it is forbidden in normal circumstances, and it is more forbidden in the state of Ihram. In the state of Ihram. And the Prophet and Allah Ta'ala in the Quran said, فَمَنْ فَرَضَ بِهِنَّ الْحَجَّ فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ. Remember this, وَلَا فُسُوقَ. What is fusuq? Fusuq is any sin. Any sin is called fusuq. It's fisq. And fisq means to come out of row of the straight path. So by doing any sin, you are out of that. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, من حج فلم يرفث ولم يفسق رجع من ذنوبه كيوم ولدته. Whoever performs Hajj avoiding rafat, which is sexual course, and whatever leads to it, looking with desire, listening with desire, whatever, anything motivates the sexual desire. If you avoid it and avoid fisq, what is fisq then? Fisq is any sin. And smoking, cigarette, pipe, or this new thing, I don't know what they call it, maybe electronic cigarette, something like that. Or even putting the tobacco in your mouth, under your lip, under your tongue, in your cheek, whatever. These things medically harmful, and from the Sharia perspective, it is forbidden, haram. Not only that, my brothers, while you are in Hajj, throwing the like water bottle or pen or whatever, after you finish, throwing it in the street, that is a fisq. Remember, may take you out of coming back to you from Hajj with no sin. It will prevent you this. So in the Hajj, you need, I remember once I was in Trinidad and Tobago, and the TV of the government, Kuffar, they asked me for a 1 hour talk on their TV channel number 5 to show how can Hajj benefit the non-Muslims. Very strange, isn't it? How can Hajj benefit the non-Muslims? I said, no problem, I'll do it. And I done it. And I proved to them that when the Muslim who comes from non-Muslim land to perform Hajj and stay there for 6 days, more days for some people, and avoiding all these things, he is purifying himself, he's purifying his heart. No hatred, no envy, no bad speech, no bad looking, no bad hearing, no bad actions, nothing. He becomes very humble. So it becomes his own habits, because 6 days, very intensively, he is being humble. So now it's not appropriate. You come all the way to Mecca and you threw the tissue on the ground, or smoke cigarettes, or smoke this electronic pipe, or smoke pipe, or use these things which are harmful for you and harmful for others. That is not allowed. Of course, it will reduce your reward of Hajj. It will not nullify your Hajj, but definitely it will make you lose the very great and tremendous reward of Hajj, which coming back from Hajj, having no sin in your register book. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khairan, and what a beautiful advice that this is a great opportunity for anybody who is addicted to cigarette smoking or vaping or a naswar, the chewing the tobacco, all of these types of things, to give up this this habit while you're on Hajj and come back, as you're coming back free of sin, inshallah, to also come back no longer addicted to these things, and a great advice around littering and backbiting and all of these things as well during Hajj as well. Sheikh, we have another question, which is related to a person is asking a question. Sure. So while the Sheikh comes back, I will just say one thing, that when we go on Hajj, and when I've spoken to people about Hajj before, we should always check our intentions. And I think that what Sheikh was explaining was a good thing about the intentions there, about, before you go, just have that mindset that before I go, I'm not going to have this speech, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, and to think to yourself, your attachments to things in this world, that whatever that attachment might be, then detach yourself, like the Kaaba was cleared of the idols, then clear your heart of anything that you have in your heart which is not pleasing to Allah. So Sheikh, the question is that due to a medical condition which is called active ulcerative colitis, this person's wudhu continuously breaks, and they've asked a question in the past, and sorry, they've asked a question in the past, and they were given the ruling to make wudhu 3 times because they are continually breaking their wudhu, and then they pray their salah. However, here they're saying that to make the wudhu while on Hajj, the toilets are not close by; they are actually quite far away. So would they be able? What should they do in this? That their usual ruling is to make wudu up to 3 times before they can proceed with the salah with any broken wudu. So what would they do in this situation where their wudu is constantly breaking and the toilets are far away, and they cannot do what they do in this country normally because the toilets are always very close, because they may be in Arafah or Mina, or they may be in Masjid al-Haram. What would they do in this situation?
The thing called, as according to the title in the Sharia, salas. Salas is when you lose your wudu regularly, not like normal people. In this situation, one needs to perform wudu for every prayer once the time of it enters. If he is in a place where he cannot find water, or water is only enough for him to drink, or he has a reason that not to use water, like if he is sick, that he cannot use water, doctors told him not to use water, something like that, or in a place where he cannot leave, he is lazy, but he cannot, like if he is in prison and there is no water and they don't want to give him water, so what he can do, he needs to do tayammum again for each prayer once the time of that prayer enters. And he can use that tayammum for all the prayers between the adhan of that prayer until the adhan of the next prayer. Yani optional prayers, whatever. And same with yani, the tawaf. Although the tawaf, the proper opinion, does need complete tahara. As if he is in tawaf and he loses wudhu, it is hard for him to go out, tell where the wudu is, and comes back. But if, as we said, we go back to the what is known as the salas of urine or salas of wind, the incontinence. In this case, as we said, you have to perform wudu for every prayer once the time of it enters. If no water, or you use water for any health reason, or it is very cold weather, or like that, you pray, you do tayammum and pray. You do tayammum and pray. But because it's a bit far, like you are in the haram and the toilets are a bit far, that you have to still go before wudu and come, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded in the Quran about it, where Allah Ta'ala said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu idha qumtum lis-salati faghsilu wujuhakum wa aydiyakum. So Allah Ta'ala commanded to perform wudu every time you go for salah, if you are not a person and your wudu lost, or if you are one who is suffering of incontinence, whether urine or from backside, as men and women, or something like that, or even muddy, which is the lubricant liquid, sexual lubricant liquid. In these cases, who has the incontinence of these things, then he or she needs to perform wudu for every time of salah, once the time starts. If for one or another cannot use the water, then he goes for tayammum. He goes for tayammum, but cannot pray. You cannot consider that, oh, I will pray with the previous. The previous is already nullified. Already nullified. Now, the excuse or the solution is to do tayammum. Now, wallahu.
Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykh. I think we're getting to the last question now, inshallah, which is around cutting of the hair. So for men who are going for Hajj or for Umrah, or for Hajj Tamatu, if they go and they cut the hair slightly. So if they have hair, for example, like mine, or they have bigger hair, and they think, I want to keep the style. Not that my hair is very stylish, but I mean, some people have very nice hair, and they think, I want to keep the style of my hair, so I want to just cut a little bit of it. Is there a minimum that they can cut? Do they have to shave the head? What is the ruling around that?
First of all, let us elaborate on the sunnah on that. The Prophet ﷺ, when he came after Arafah to Mina and stoned Jamrat al-Aqaba and slaughtered the sacrificed animals, and then he came to the barber and he sat down and he said to the barber, shave my head and start from right side. Start from right side. Okay, and then he ﷺ said to the Sahaba, he made dua, making the Sahaba hear it. Allahumma aghfir lil-muhalliqeen ru'usa. Look at that, it's a da'wah, it's a dua from the Prophet ﷺ, whose da'wah is accepted. And in that time, in that day of Nahar, Allahumma aghfir lil-muhalliqeen ru'usa. The Sahaba said, wal-muqassireen ya Rasulullah. He said, oh Allah, forgive those who shave their heads, meaning after Hajj or after Umrah. The companion said, Ya Rasulullah, what about those who do haircut? He said, Allahumma aghfir lil muhalliqeen ru'us. Second time. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what about those who have haircut? He said, Allahumma aghfir lil muhalliqeen. They said, Ya Rasulullah, what about those who have haircut? He said, wal muqassirin, and those who have haircut. After the third. So the reward of shaving by blade is 3 times. It's 3 dua of forgiveness from Rasulullah. Wise person should not lose it just because he wants to keep the hairstyle. Hairstyle will not remain with you. You don't know. Allah might cause your scalp with any disease and you become bald. You don't know. Now, and sooner or later you're going to die. Your hair is going to go off. What remains is this dua of Rasulullah. There you won't want to have your hair, whether with a style or without a style. After death, if it is said to you, do you want to keep your hair or shave your hair and enter Jannah? What would you say? Definitely you're going to say, no, shave it and let me not go in Jannah. If they say, if you shave your hair, if they say to you, in your records of sins, you have 1 million sins. If you want to wipe them, for each sin, you have to shave your head 1 time. So you're going to keep your hair and then shave it. Keep and shave 1 million times because you want these sins to be wiped away. Because if they are not wiped away, you are under big risk. The lowest punishment in Jahannam is just wearing slippers of fire that makes your brain boils. It's not easy thing. It's not easy thing. So everyone wants his sins to be wiped away. If you want it to be wiped away, then take it there. For women, haircut equals shaving for men. That dua made is for men, not for women. Women has only one thing, haircut, and they get the 3 dua of the Prophet. The women, because to shave, so if they do haircut, they will get the 3 dua of the Prophet ﷺ, like men shaving. So now we go back to the question. If he insists to keep it, to keep his hair, up to him. He will lose that reward. But he has to do haircut from all around the head. The way people do in Mecca, in the end of Mas'a by Marwa, they take a scissor and they take from here and here and here. That is incorrect. That is incorrect way. Although it is an opinion of a Shafi'i madhab, but it is incorrect. Because as we said, the ulama say, I'm only conveying what the ulama say. If the Prophet ﷺ made dua 3 times for those who shave, and shaving is not allowed to be part of the head. Because when you shave part of the head, it's called qaza', and qaza' is prohibited in Islam. So when you shave, you have to shave all of your head, leaving a single piece of hair. If shaving has these 3 rewards, how come if these 3 rewards are given for the one who shaves, how come the one who does haircut from here and here and here is something accepted. La, it must be from all around the head. Yani like when you normally goes to the barber and say, I need to do haircut. He's not going to take here and here and here. He's going to take from all around. So if you want to keep your hair, then minimum to do haircut from all around. No matter some place longer, some place smaller, no problem. Must be from all around. Now for women, how to do haircut? If her hair is made as thread or braid, then she takes every braid, and at the end, she takes like this thing, like as we call unmula. Regardless, when she pulls her hair, some pieces of hair will come off. That's no problem. She's not asked to take from every piece of hair, but from the whole, and goes down to the end of the time and cut it. If she has loose hair, then again she pulls it by both hands towards the end and takes this length. Now, Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. I think that's a very, very good explanation there. Sorry, I went on mute. And I think that one of the things I think that the people who are thinking this need to realize is your hair grows back, inshallah, as well. It's not like it's going to be shaved and it's going to go away forever. Your hairstyle will come back in 2-3 months, inshallah. Sheikh, one question I have for myself is when I did Hajj Tamatu last time, for the Umrah part of the Hajj Tamatu, I cut my hair short because I felt it's better to shave it for the Hajj. Is that okay? Or is it better to shave both?
That is the way of it. The one who is doing Hajj Tamatu, after he finishes the Umrah, he's not allowed to shave because there will be no enough time for his hair to grow, so he shaves it on the Hajj. So in the Umrah, he just do haircut, and a couple of days he's going to do the shaving.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair. And I think that's a really nice thing to come out of this. I think something that we don't generally find in the books and in general talks that we hear generally. And this is the advantage of a question and answer session where we have established that actually with Hajj Tamatu, when you're arriving in Makkah, you only have a few days before you're going to do Hajj. And those people who are going in and shaving their head, it's better that you cut your hair and then you shave it when you do Hajj, because you'll have some there. Sheikh, before we wrap up, and Jazakallah khairan for so much of your time today. Before we wrap up, just a small advice, I would say. A lot of us who are going on Hajj from the West, from the UK or around America, Canada, and Europe, Australia, we are using a new system, and lots of people are very frustrated with the new system, and it's very difficult upon them. What would your advice be for those people who are undergoing this slight difficulty and anxiety, stress as part of going on Hajj?
Well, the first thing we advise with is remember how many times Salah is made obligatory. 5 times every day. Every day, no days example. Every day, 5. How many times fasting was made obligatory? Once a year. Once a year. Yani the whole month, but once a year. How many times Hajj is made obligatory? Once a life. Why? Because of its hardship. Because of its hardship. That's why it is once a life. So you are asked to do it once a life. Be patient in that one time until you return. If you insisted to do more, that is good, but don't say because I'm doing it every year, I'm facing hardship. Let me do something to make it different. La, you have to go upon the Sunnah, even if it is hard. You are not told, you are not commanded to do it more than once in your lifetime, but that one time, remember how Allah described it and how the Prophet described it. No sin and no sexual desire. that will make you come out of your Hajj like newborn baby. Hardship, whatever hardship you face is a worthy price for this reward of Hajj. It's not simple reward. Yani here, you pray 5 times a day, you're not going to be have your records of sins wiped completely. You're fasting, same thing. But Hajj, if you do it, if you perform it with patience and accurately as the Sunnah, then all your sins will be wiped away. Does not that deserve from you to sacrifice your imagine what hardships you are going to face when you compare it to the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba who came from Medina to Mecca on foot. 10 days, no service stations in the way, no asphalt, no air conditioning. They are walking over very rough rocks and roads, and wild animals at any time can attack them. But they remember 50, 60 years ago, people used to come from Indonesia, from India, from Pakistan, Bangladesh, 6 months by boat. By boat. Today, what hardship you talk about? Yes, still there is hardship, but it's nothing compared to those before us. Today, alhamdulillah, it's a kind of very luxuriant journey. You have 5-star hotel, air conditioning 24 hours. You don't even climb stairs. You just go with very smooth and fast elevators. And in the Haram, if you don't want to walk, you can just take the escalators. Yani it's very, very convenient. The hardship there, even not compared to the hardship of a picnic in your country. It's not compared to it. Because imagine when you go to a picnic in England and you go to the hiking, okay, and you hike over a big mountain and then you remember you forgot something. You go down and bring it. You go down. That's more hard than this, and you are alone. Yeah. Now here in the journey, when you are with the people, you don't even feel it. And you see old people, sick people. You will see people doing the Hajj in the ambulance. As a Saudi government assigned a huge number of ambulances, I don't know, 500, something like that, or maybe more, just for people who come and find health difficulty to continue. So they take them, and Allah Ta'ala blessed you to walk, and you are independent. You walk, you breathe, no natural air, you see everything, you buy. He's in the ambulance. And taken to Arab, taken to Muzdalifah, taken to Mina. You remember this, and that will make the hardship you face is nothing. Is nothing. Today you come for 4,600 kilometers from London to Jeddah, but it is in hours, and less than 6 hours. The Prophet ﷺ came from Medina to Mecca, 10 days. He did not come, he did not find a garden in the way, so they enjoyed it. No. The journey itself took 10 days from them to come from Medina to Mecca, walk on foot. Not because they wanted hardship, no, but that is their capability. Not all of them got camels. And imagine camel. You ride camel from Medina to Mecca. You cannot ride it in Mina, just for a small distance. You will prefer to go walk, because it's very hard to ride over camel. Imagine that. Ya ikhwa, imagine whoever finds hardship, just remember this incident. When the Prophet ﷺ decided to go for Hajj, who came with him? All the Sahaba. And when they arrived in the miqat of Medina, Dhul Hulayfa, which is only nearly 17 kilometers away from the Prophet Prophet's mosque. Just that short distance. There, the wife of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Asma bint Umays, gave birth of her baby Muhammad. In that place, she did not say, oh, yani from beginning. She came out in the same day, less than, yani maybe 3 hours, 2 hours from the time they left the Prophet's mosque until they reached Al-Hulayfa. Okay, yani maybe even less than 2 hours. They came there. She knew that she's going to give birth in this journey. She's in the last stages of pregnancy. She knew, but she decided to go. And when she gave birth, she did not say, Ya Rasulullah, excuse me, let me go back. She asked Rasulullah what to do. I want to continue. Guide me what to do. And he guided her, and she continued the journey with Rasulullah. These are the hardships, not the ones we talk about. Remember in the hadith of the Prophet Sahih Muslim, when he said, it is like if I am seeing Musa alayhi salam now coming down of this hill on a red ball. Imagine red ball. He's riding ball. You know the ball, how rough it goes. You know the ball. It's very rough. But Musa came from Palestine or desert of Egypt, riding ball to alone, carrying all these deserts to do the Hajj. Imagine the journey of Ibrahim alayhi salam when he came from Iraq, cutting Egypt, going to Palestine, and then he was commanded to come all the way to this land which he never knew. And imagine the hardship of Hagar alayhi salam. Hajar alayhi salam was left alone there with the newborn baby and having no house, no water, no food, only dry bread, some pieces, and a little container of water, which finished after a couple of days, 1 or 2 days. That is the hardship. Today we have no hardship. Akhi, you go in Mecca, you drink cold Zamzam water. Not only Zamzam water, cold Zamzam water. The Haram is air conditioned. You go to the Haram in buses which are air conditioned. You live in the hotel which is air conditioned. Today Mecca is in 50s of degrees. But the people doing Hajj, they don't feel it. They don't feel it. Because all the time they are in air-conditioned either accommodation or transportation. You don't feel it. So what hardship you are talking about? It's nothing. Wallahi, I don't say it is nothing compared to the Hajj before. It is nothing compared to the journey of picnic in your country. It is nothing compared to that. Because you are served. You don't, if you forget anything, you don't go and bring it. You are served, they bring it to you. If you are sick, you will find someone in your service. So take the opportunity and go and remember as the Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha in the journey of Hajj, أجرك على قدر نصبك. Your reward is as your hardship. Remember, the more hard of Hajj, the more reward. Yani don't imagine that the reward of ours today in this Hajj is like the reward of the Sahaba who came with the Prophet ﷺ from Medina, 10 days walk. No, it's not the same. They faced real hardship. And they never, wallahi ya ikhwan, I tried, I checked all the hadith of Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ. I never saw any hadith that people claim to Rasulullah that it is hard. Even when the Prophet ﷺ saw the man Ka'b with the lice coming, dripping from his head, the man didn't complain. The lices were, biting his scalp, sucking the blood And he did not say anything. The Prophet ﷺ accidentally saw him and the lice dripping, too many lice. And he said to him, why you are waiting? Go shave it and slaughter. Look at that. Yani they did not even ask for excuse. Asma bint Umays did not ask excuse to return, although she was in the beginning of the journey. But she asked the guidance how to continue the journey. We have to remember these things so we can win this. I can say the battle against hardship. There is no hardship. Wallahi, these days there is no hardship. May Allah Ta'ala accept from you your Hajj and make it easy and grant you the highest reward of it and make you return back to your countries with records of zero sins. May Allah Ta'ala make you after Hajj better than you during the Hajj and make you during the Hajj better than you before Hajj. And here maybe, is this the last question?
Yes, Sheikh.
And here we end up our session today. Barakallahu feekum, wafaqakumullah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shaykh. Jazakallahu khairan for this advice. And I think that before we wrap up, I would just say one thing. When you are in Makkah, in Masjid al-Haram or in Masjid Nabawi, this is the advantage of spending the time with asking the questions and spending time with scholars where you can ask these questions, because at the end of the day, the benefit that we got from this, look at the last question, how we got the benefit of the fact that the more hardship, the more reward, and the fact that the Sahaba did not complain. And we complain over the smallest thing, the air conditioning goes off for 1 minute and we start complaining. This is the advantage. I would encourage everybody when you're there. There are Urdu speakers and such as Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, who gives durus every day in the season of Hajj in Masjid al-Haram. You have Sheikh Abdul Basit Fahim, who gives Urdu language lecture in Masjid Nabawi. You can find these scholars there and you can sit in these durus and benefit, and this is the great advantage. I would say to all the viewers, I think in total we had about 87 people, mashallah, watching. All of the viewers, and Jazakallahu khairan for watching, and all of the people who asked the question, and of course to you, Sheikh, Jazakallahu khairan for everything, for answering our questions and taking the time out for this. We'll end here. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.